I have gotten inspired by films and wanted to like remake them like shot for shot because I didn't want to change anything about the original film because they're just so good. You know what I'm saying? Or am I going off tangent already?
I fully concede that it's a good movie. It was just that after I had seen so much, with it ending the way it did, it was like, oh, I thought they were gonna really surprise me. I mean, it was a beautifully shot ending. It's just like, oh.
Right. No, I agree with you.
I had that kind of moment when I saw The Shallows. Like, I was sure they were gonna kill her in The Shallows, and then at the end it was like, oh, we're okay. Oh, cool. All right.
Right.
Just waiting for one more person here, but welcome to the show. Hey, Dane.
Hello.
I see you finished just in time.
Yes, I was a bad student. I did the homework right before coming to class.
Well, I did too, so don't worry about it. So, movie was pretty good. I wish there were 10 of them.
Awesome. Well, just trying to get Katie on here for a moment. She's having troubles. Let's see. Sent invite.
How are all you beautiful people tonight?
Sticky.
Good. How are you?
Sticky. I'm pretty sticky too. Just in general.
Sticky in general.
I should have
taken so many words. Taken so many ways.
I know. That's yeah.
Anyways, let's see. Send one more invite. Let's see. It started here. Well, I'm going to introduce you to everyone, and we can tell each other a little bit about each other before we get started here. While I'm trying to get Katie here going. Dane, why don't you tell Emir a little bit about yourself and what you did?
What's that squeaking?
That's my chair.
Oh, okay.
That's the extra. Chair, say hello.
Well, my name is Emir. Thanks for having me here. I live in Buffalo, New York, and I am a writer, a filmmaker. I guess I'm not going to call myself a writer or filmmaker. I'm an aspiring writer and a filmmaker. I work in an underground indie film circuit, mainly focusing on horror, exploitation. However, I just filmed my first non-horror film, which is a neo-noir, modern Western action type film, innovative, yeah, I like to work with practical effects with my friend Crystal, and I kind of run my Foxtrot Productions with my wife and a couple other people here in Buffalo, New York.
Awesome. Dane, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself before we get started?
All right. Well, I'm Dane Kyle. I'm a writer, director out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm just looking to continue to make an impact on the film scene with my work. I've got some stuff on my YouTube channel now and got more stuff on the way, but yeah, just trying to make an impact on the old film sphere.
Very cool.
Celeste, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself?
I'm Celeste. I'm a co-host on the Horror Host Show, Dedger's Dark Coffin Classics, out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. And I'm also the host for the Glamour Junkies Burlesque Troupe out of Milwaukee.
Cool. Awesome. And my name is David Streggy. I run Movies Galore of Milwaukee. I do reviews and whatnot, but I've somewhat become a producer of films somewhat, but I enjoy talking about films, and I decided to get together a group of individuals that I think can very well hold a conversation, some from Milwaukee and some from out of bounds territories.
So,
and we are what makes Inside Movies Galore. So welcome to the show.
Cool, thank you.
Well, I'm Dustin. I watch movies. Yeah, I didn't get an introduction.
I was getting to get Dustin. So,
I thought we were
Dustin,
done.
go ahead. No, we were not.
Oh, I had to step out for a moment, so I thought I missed that part. Well, I live in Milwaukee. I watch too many movies, and I am repeating myself now. So,
Okay.
Stone Ghost Hammer IPA.
Alrighty. Well,
Hello, everyone.
hello. So, getting on with the interview, you somewhat told us about yourself, Emir, but how did you get into independent films?
Well, I took a class in high school called just plain simple media study, and it was during my senior year. Our final project was to make a short film. There were several groups, and I was very, very obsessed with Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. So for a high schooler, I wrote a short film called Deuces Wild and Follow the Queen, which is a poker term. And we had Academy Awards set up in Aquarium, and I won for the best screenplay. I was like, 15, 16? But I always wanted to like be in film, so that kind of like really nudged me in the right direction, because I don't do it for money. I just do it for fun, and I mean, hopefully it pays off someday. But I get a great deal of enjoyment out of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, and from what I understand, your first film that I know of is correct.
I'm sorry, I did not hear what movie you said.
Your first film was The Butcher, if I remember correctly, right?
Yep, it is. It is The Butcher. It's like my like very. I have a bunch of short films on YouTube. The Butcher was like my very first real effort at a feature filmmaking. Yeah, as much as I like it, it's very rough, and it was like a stepping stone, I guess. But I enjoyed making it.
Awesome. Where did you film The Butcher?
Well, my friends from this local punk rock band, Johnny Revolting, we shot a couple of shorts and a music video for them at this one warehouse. It was like a 3-storied building just loaded with stuff. It had like corridors and stairwells and stuff, and it had like this really desolate room, like that a movie like Saw could have been filmed in there. And we contacted the guy like who actually like rents the place out for local filmmakers after we shot the stuff there, and we asked him if we can actually be there for like an extended period of time, and he actually let us film in there for free. We were there for hours and hours and hours on end. So yeah, generally like I drive around the city with some people, and like we try to find the most decrepit locations most of the time, like, we don't even ask for permission. They're just like buildings that people have forgotten about, and they have fallen into such like a state of disrepair that it's just like not on anybody's mind. Hey, are there people filming in here, or is this like a drug house or something? You know?
So the maniac method.
Yeah, and you know what? And like when you are dealing with like a couple of $1,000 budget, it's a lot easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission. You know, like so.
Well, and I know an independent filmmaker that pretty much made his film for roughly around $700. So having a couple of thousand to work with is better than some have to work with.
No, absolutely.
But getting back to how was your relationship with your casting?
You know, a lot of the times, like some of my cast does, because consist of people I know, friends. But the more I film, the more I do. I've branched off to actually hire like local actors, like people who have done like extensive work, like in theater, who have been like in some bigger films outside of Western New York area. But I approach using the friend method instead of like, hey, you're my employee, like we've hired you, like, and a commodity on the set now. Like it's a lot easier for me to film if I know I am on good terms with the cast and the crew, because to throw ideas, it's easier to be on the set with somebody for like 20, 30 hours that you like and that you get along with. I mean, I've worked with some prima donnas who think that they, are making millions of dollars like for their film. I'm like, dude, like,
I pretty much heard that related to or being referred to as the cult of E.
Dude, you're being paid in sandwiches. Calm down.
Yeah, I mean, like, like I'm paying you $35 for like 10 hours, and you're getting pizza and then pop. I mean, like, hey. So, but I mean, I want one of the biggest accomplishments that I get from like making films is like when I have an ensemble cast, and then like a few weeks later, I see all of these people like who now interacting on social media and like hanging out in person after they were on one of my films. It's really cool, like when everybody just becomes a friend on one of my sets. So it's a pretty good feeling.
Awesome. So did you have any inspiration when you created The Butcher?
I'm not gonna say like so much like inspiration than like ideas. The Butcher was just a film to do is like how much can we like push the envelope. At our screening at a local theater here, we handed out barf bags because there were some pretty like disgusting. I mean, like you've seen a movie. Especially like there's a part, it's the only part I'm going to mention, but the butcher has the girl strapped to the table, and he uses a cheese grater on her breast, and he takes the flesh shavings and he shoves them down her throat. So there's not much like an inspiration as it was like what else can we do like to gross people out, or like what else can we do to like offend somebody. So
okay,
yeah. Like I wasn't.
And how was the reception? How was the reception of the film? How did the public react?
Like from like underground folks, I got some like pretty good reviews, mainly like in terms of like directing and effects. I understand. Like I said, like the film is rough around the edges. Like now that I watch it, I see shots that I could have done better. I see shots that were technical mishaps. All of that. Like a lot of people loved it. A lot of people enjoyed it, mainly for like the shock factor. Like, oh my god, like, did you see that? Like he fed her boob to her. But then like I had reviews from overseas that they were like reviewing it as if they would have reviewed the Avengers. makes absolutely makes absolutely zero sense. I'm like, okay, dude, like I know I made this movie for like $500. Like I am well aware of that fact. I was not trying to like submit it to the Oscars. It was not trying to cure cancer. It wasn't like a timepiece or anything. It was the film called The Butcher. Like what more can you expect from a film called The Butcher?
You can see a continuity error in the type of watch this one character is wearing. Therefore, the whole thing is garbage.
Yeah, I know. Oh my god. Yeah, like exactly. Like that's what I'm talking about. But I enjoyed it. Like the reaction from the people that I wanted to get the reaction from was favorable, and that made me happy. So.
Awesome. You got what you wanted, and you had a good time making it, right?
Do you have,
I'm sorry?
You got what you wanted out of the project, and you had a good time, right?
Oh yeah, man. It was a blast. It was an old warehouse with leaky walls, and it was mid-March, and it was about 38 degrees on the outside. Oh. We had 3 girls that were like in just plain white tees and underwear. We had like heaters all over the place, and we took like pizza breaks like every half hour, like to warm up. So I'm like, I couldn't have asked for a better cast or anything. It was a blast.
Right. Did you have a favorite shot or scene that you liked from The Butcher?
I did. The shot is actually in the trailer. It's like a very extreme close-up of the butcher's face in the mask, and
okay,
like it looked fish slicing a girl's throat, and it just kind of like. The shot was layered over with some really good doom metal. I'm not a huge fan of doom metal, but it really fit the scene. So like the whole ensemble to me looked like really badass and really like kind of establish the Butcher character as like this like really like sadistic nutcase.
When you say doom metal, I can only envision the Doom soundtrack. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I am a huge dedicated follower of all things death metal and black metal. So I am a huge metalhead.
You may enjoy this soundtrack quite a bit.
All right.
I would assume.
Your next film was Flesh of My Flesh, which is
yep.
Where did you film that film?
That was filmed actually about an hour and a half out of Buffalo. A friend of mine, his uncle, he owns one of the biggest dairy farms in that region and all of Western New York. And it was actually I don't know how the whole rating system goes, because I know like it has to be accredited or whatever, but it was like the second biggest farm in the area, and it was like in the middle of nowhere. It had an amazing barn with a creaky floor. That's where we filmed the rape/birth scene and the cult scene, and the beginning of the film and the end of the film, and everything in between was filmed in Buffalo at several other locations, schools and people's homes and stuff like that. But it was actually filmed all over the place. So
Okay. Did how was your relationship with the cast and crew on this film?
it was great. It was really tricky though because I'm not trying to be an old like grouch. I mean, I am 29. I don't consider myself old, I guess, but it was like the first time I worked with kids, and when I mean kids, the one actress was 15 and the other one was 16. In the entire film takes place. The entire film deals with a girl finding out that she's a product of a rape, and she's haunted by her mother's rapist, and she finds out that she was adopted, and it's a really heavy like subject matter, like to have like a 16-year-old portray on the screen. Luckily, the actress who played the main girl, who was also in my one of my latest short films, Melancholia. Her name is Michalina. She's like a really mature 16-year-old, and she was like a joy to work with. Like she was awesome, and everybody was like I said, it was a really dark subject matter, but everybody was like in really good spirits, and I met a lot of new people, a lot of new talent that I've stayed friends with since then. So, yeah,
awesome. And did who was your person who did your makeup on either one of these two films?
Okay, so The Butcher, Flesh of My Flesh, and the other one that we're going to talk about, Confessions of a Homicidal Prostitute, that was Sean Saramak. And one of the bright spots of The Butcher is his makeup that he did. He built a prosthetic breast. He built an eye. He built a tongue. He built a bunch of other stuff, and we had a liver. In Flesh of My Flesh, we had placenta and umbilical cord and all of that type of stuff. And the dude, he built everything from scratch. So it was Sean Saramak. He's a great author. He's a great FX author.
Awesome. So, did you have a favorite scene from Flesh of My Flesh?
I do. I cannot say it though because it is in the ending sequence.
Okay. Well,
one thing I do have to say about.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
But just a really quick thing I wanted to say about The Butcher and Flesh of My Flesh. Both of the films were distributed by Legless Corpse Films, but due to some issues with the contract and some disagreements between us and Legless Corpse Film, both films are actually up for redistribution by Underground Gore Collectors. They're not out yet, but they're being re-released within the next month or two.
And Underground Gore Collectors is run by a man called Daniel
Yep, Daniel Conan. It's a company based out of Germany, and they specialize in underground exploitation, horror, gore. He's a great guy, great company, great retro style distribution with like oversized clamshell boxes, and he's also a great artist, great distributor too.
And then your third film, which is kind of how I actually myself, I'd actually somewhat followed Legless Corpse films, and you ended up being one of the directors that I ended up going and following. So, and your third film is called The Play, which evidently stars your wife. So
she does.
What? How is working with your significant other?
My I love working with my wife mainly because she knows all of my tics. She knows everything that, all my quirks, everything that I do. So she knows, like, right off the bat what I expect and like what I want. And like she can play the part really well that I set up for her. At least I think so. Well, I mean, I don't know if you read other reviews from other folks. I know you mentioned it once, but I mean, like, she got some pretty good reviews for her acting from for the Plague and the Plague 2. Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I owe a lot to her because she supports my crazy passion and everything that I do, and she's with me every step of the way. And she's my first line of proofreading everything, of checking the rough drafts, of checking the rough edits and everything. She's like the first line of defense of everything that I do. So
awesome. Did you have any problems with any of the rest of the cast on or crew with the Plague? Or
no, Plague was great. Plague was a little grueling because we filmed on location. Plague is a zombie movie, but which is inspired by, I don't know how well you guys are familiar with. It's called Love Canal. It was a little neighborhood in 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s here in Western New York, in Niagara Falls to be. It was actually a toxic dump, where between 70s and 80s, about 22,000 barrels of toxic waste were buried. And in the late 70s, this shit just started to ooze into people's homes. It oozed into their basements, in their walls, and bathrooms. And people basically got sick, and it was basically like a miniature Chernobyl fallout, because for like years and years and years after, who were exposed or who used to live in that area are actually they still have their children are still born with birth defects, ailments, this and that. So that's what I based the film, and it was really weird filming there because everything's torn down. Police are constantly making rounds. They're like really grumpy, grouchy people that own land that kind of like threaten you with weapons and stuff. And we had an altercation with a woman who owned some land, but we weren't even on her land, and she threatened to shoot us and that type of stuff. So, the usual guerrilla style filmmaking.
Alrighty. And did you have a favorite shot or scene that you could share with us from the film? Or
man, this one comes at the end. Yeah, actually, there's a scene in the alley where 4 protagonists, it's a brother and sister and a boyfriend and girlfriend. They are actually meeting in the middle from opposite directions, and the brother and sister are actually surrounded by zombies, and it's like a really cool slow motion scene that takes place, and all the blood splatters are in slow motion, and all the zombies are like falling down, and the blood is spraying everywhere, and the gunshots blazing, and yeah, some hand-to-hand combat. It was pretty cool, and involved my wife too. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, from what I understand, you now did you do Ava Satanas Santa before you did Plague 2 or after?
That was after. Ave Satanas is a short film I did. It's only 14 minutes long, and it's basically my ode. It's like a love letter to black metal music. It's black and white, and it deals with a witch, and it deals with a lot of dismemberment and disembowelment. So yeah.
Okay. Now, how was your reception of the Plague? And even though we haven't talked about the Plague 2, what was the reception for the Plague 2?
The first Plague actually. The first Plague played at 3 film festivals so far. One in, actually one in Italy, one in Netherlands, and one here in Buffalo. And a lot of the people were actually torn because like some loved it, some hated it. A lot of people had a gripe that it focused mainly on character and story development, story progression, and character progression than zombies and gore. We had about 35 extras. There were about 35 zombies that are credited, and you know, it had gore. It had, head smashing and blood splatters and innards trailing, but it was like it wasn't focusing on gore and blood and guts. It was mainly focused on like the characters that were stuck in Love Canal and they were trying to get out. Some people loved it. Some people were indifferent to it just because it didn't showcase all the gore that it could have. But I didn't make it for gore. I made it for story. If you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So,
I totally get it.
I got some great reviews on it. I got a couple of pretty bad reviews on it too. It's to be expected. It phases me sometimes, but I try to shrug it off. Can't please everybody.
Alrighty, and I understand now that the Plague 2, the storyline continues from the Plague.
Yep, it continues from the Plague. Basically, everything in the Plague 2 was bigger. Again, I focus mainly on story, but I try to take something that people have been telling me that they wanted gore. So we do have significantly more gore than we did in the first one. But everything in the film was bigger. The locations was bigger. The cast was bigger. We had about 9 main characters, couple of intertwining storylines, and again, it was everything. Like I just try to do everything bigger. We filmed in a gigantic abandoned church, and we filmed at a nature trail that goes on for miles and miles and miles. We filmed at some other abandoned locations, houses. In this one, I really the first Plague takes place still in a present time in the first hours of the zombie outbreak, where the second one actually takes place in months and months and months into the apocalypse. So
okay.
On a $1,500 budget, it's really hard to convey that the world is actually gone to shit, but did a decent job, trying to create a desolate environment,
Oh yeah, I can definitely understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So any case, moving on to Melancholy. What was that short film about?
Melancholia,
I know I didn't review it from you, but
yeah, Melancholia is a shortish. It's about 30 minutes. It's a short experimental horror film, and it deals with depression, suicide, and mental illness. It's one of those films I did for myself. I'm gonna say I suffer from depression, but I get some pretty violently swinging depression. One morning, I'll be fine, and then something will happen that's not even remotely that shouldn't even remotely set me off. But then all I want to just crawl under the covers and sleep my life away and drink. But I don't showcase it because I believe I have a lot of healthy outlets, and Melancholia, I did that film as an outlet for my depression, and it stars the girl from Flesh of My Flesh. Michelina, and actually this is the first film that my old friend, but my new FX person, Crystal Shank, she's the one who did special effects on Melancholia, and she was also in Melancholia. There's not a lot of them, but what there is, they're really gruesome, and I think she did a fantastic job. Though, again, it was the first film that she actually did with me. I mean, she handled all the special effects on The Plague too, but Melancholia was actually where her and I really sat down, and she really delivered a great product. I mean, all the blood, all the innards. The torso that she created was just fantastic. She did great on The Plague, but Melancholia, I think, is her shining moment.
Awesome. And I hear you're working on a new film. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Jericho is my first non-horror film. It's a black and white neo-noir action film. It basically has really stark black and white contrasts. So it's not just you saw how Flesh of My Flesh was just black and white. It was a monotone. It was like monochromatic.
Yeah.
Jericho has like some really like deep, stark shadows, dark hues, and overtones. And it also has colored blood and colored muzzle flashes. So the blood is red. The muzzle flashes, are bright and shiny and stuff. But everything else is like a really stark contrast between black and white. It is it's a love story between ex-hitman who tried to settle down and be with his wife that accepted him for who he is, but his old calling won't quit. So once his wife is dead, he sets up on a path to avenge her death against the people who actually he used to work for, who killed her. It's actually the first film that I had that had a gigantic production, that had like stunt choreographer, my friend Brandon, who is an amazing stunt choreographer, actor, and all around a guru of martial arts. We worked with some pretty intense real katana swords, which was kind of nerve-wracking because we didn't want anybody to hurt themselves. But those were the only swords we had, so we're like, oh well, we're just gonna make the best of it. A finger flies off. Just make sure it's on camera, and then we'll deal with it. So yeah,
I think Rob Zombie said art isn't safe. So.
I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Now I understand that there are some of these films for sale.
That is correct. After we kind of had the falling out with the Legless Corpse films, I've handed most of them to Underground Collectors Film. A lot of them I am self-distributing. I have a link if anybody cares to check them out. They're all pretty cheap. They're like the both Plague films are $5 and $6 respectively. Melancholia and Aves Satanas are $4 each. So, and they all come with custom-made inside small inserts. They're all signed, and yeah, they're all the cover art is made by artists from all over the world. So,
awesome.
Yeah, I can share the link in the messages. So,
we can probably put a link
moving
back.
on to the main.
I'm sorry. I think Dustin wanted to say something. I did not.
Oh, go ahead.
Entirely.
Go ahead, Dustin.
We can we add a link to your stuff in the description for the video?
Yeah, we can do that.
I think
I haven't. I can add I can add your link in the description of the YouTube thing. I didn't yet, so I can do that after the show.
Oh yeah, sure. Yep, that would be fine, David. I sent you the links, right? Or do
Yep. I've got all three of the links that you sent
Gotcha.
me. I
Okay.
can send them to
Coolio.
the prospective people that want them after the show or
Sure.
whatnot.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it.
You didn't get to say hello before.
I didn't. Hello.
Why don't you explain a little bit about yourself?
Well, I apologize for being late. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes.
Partially
Am I
my
coming
fault.
through? Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was having some technical difficulties, so I apologize for that. But I am Katie Cadaver. I'm a fellow Dead Girl with Celeste Parker on Dead Girl's Dark Coffin Classics. You may have heard me there or seen me working with the horror punk band Rat Bat Spider. I'm all over Facebook and Instagram and stuff too. So I'm just a horror fan. I'm not a super big time movie buff too much because I suffer from the problem of not having time to watch films. But when I do, I try to pick good ones. So I'm here to just give a little perspective from my end.
Nice.
And since she's still talking, why don't I ask her what she thought of the film for tonight? What did you think of? Since you were the Suspiria fanatic, I figured I'd ask you first.
I actually really enjoyed this one, and it was definitely a lot like Suspiria. I saw a lot of similarities. I felt like this film, even though it's obviously was made a lot more recently, had a lot of those a lot of things reminiscent of the 70s giallo, Argento and Italian horror stuff. Like I felt that very strongly in this film. So yeah, overall it was like definitely my style of horror that I do like. So I enjoyed it, and I thought the music too was really good that they used in the film as well. Not as good as Goblin, like we've seen in Suspiria and that, but I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was a good choice for the film, so I liked it overall.
Awesome. Emir, since you probably won't have a lot of more time to spend with us, why don't you tell us what you thought? I know we kind of got a little bit of it in the beginning, but why don't you tell us what your thoughts were on the film?
No, sure. Again, I just want to reiterate that I personally thought that the film was very well done. Again, I thought it really, really like echoed Suspiria greatly. Again, we can get into this the discussion if it was a remake or a ripoff, but I'm just gonna say that it was very inspired by Suspiria. But I love the story. I thought it was very interesting, and the very opening shots. I know the story kind of starts in the 70s, and I'm assuming most of you have seen Lucio Fulci's The City of the Dead. Like that, like the first opening, like 5 minutes really reminded me of that film. It really had feel. That was like right off the bat a win for me because I'm a huge fan of Lucio Fulci. And again, I felt like all the kills in the film were so very well done, and they were brutal, yet it wasn't an like huge amount of like truckloads of gore, if you know what I mean.
I agree with that.
Like a lot of these indie films, they like, and I'm guilty of it, rely on gore. It's like screw everything else, like gore. The story might suck, but gore. So this film, like really, I mean, the kills were so spot on and juicy, and like how the thing like went into like the throats and ears, and like the heads and everything, and it was like no cutaway shots. It was marvelous. So, but then again, that's me. Like I focused on kills because,
Well, the story is pretty much kind of surrounding Stella, which the actress, her name was Susan Ermick, and I thought she played a stellar job in her role.
I believe so too.
And
did anyone else keep noticing her Monroe piercing that was taken out? Like, I couldn't stop seeing that. Did anybody else see that? She had a hole on her face? No?
I somewhat noticed that a little bit too.
Yeah, it was like she had a Monroe piercing and she took it out for the movie, and I just kept seeing that. And I thought that was funny. I wondered if anyone else noticed that.
I'm gonna say I didn't. But then that could be just me.
Well, basically, the story surrounds Stella, where she's an aspiring actress, except she's not really that great. So she ends up being told about this private school that ends up having some. And the reason why I picked this film is because to me, when I first saw it, I thought it had a lot of Suspiria undertones myself. And since we previously talked about Suspiria, I thought this was a perfect film to discuss. Now, it was directed by Andreas Marschall in 2012. And now, Andreas Marschall is actually kind of a big name in black metal, believe it or not. He's actually been around since the 80s, so he does a lot of the cover arts for different bands. He's done some for King Diamond, some very big names, Blind Guardian. So he definitely had years of experience in doing cover art. So to me, being artistic that way, having that kind of a feel towards it. His first film was called Tears of Kali, and that film had quite a following in Germany. But this film ended up being like one of the top 20 films in Germany at the time. So, but the story follows that she goes to this private school. And it's based on the teachings of Matus Jula, who invented an acting method which was to make an actor shine. So, Dane, since you had just finished watching this film, what was your perspective?
Well, much of what has already been said in terms of the comparisons with Suspiria, I kind of felt in a way it was a little bit like if you combine Suspiria with a Serbian film just a little bit, just a little. I thought it was much more. The style and music of Suspiria was superior, and obviously it came to it. Will always win the cake in that sense, but. This film I thought was considerably better in terms of the narrative. It wasn't obviously as stylistically strong, but I kind of criticized Suspiria as having a bit more, at least to me, I felt like it had a bit more style over substance, but this film explored its ideas a lot better. We actually got to go inside the craft of, in this case, it's acting as opposed to dance, which is what it was in Suspiria. We got to go inside the craft of it a lot more, and why these things are important. And that's kind of where I brought in the Serbian film comparison, because the whole thrust of that film is it's about, in both instances, acting, or in filmmaking, it's about capturing real pain. And in this film's case, regressing, or in a Serbian film's case, just capturing the worst possible things imaginable, but all in the name of art, but through a very real, painful, raw lens. And so you can kind of appreciate, if you're a director like me, you can kind of appreciate the twisted genius behind such a thing, but of course, at what cost? And that's, of course, the central dilemma. But performance-wise, acting was significantly better than in Suspiria, because a lot of the performances in that film were kind of cheesy, or I'm sure a lot of that was in part because of the dubbing. That didn't really help things much. But this film was subtitled. I heard the native German, and it was just a million times better. And I just think the caliber of acting was better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dustin,
can you guys
was this
hear
your
me?
first time watching?
Yep.
Yeah, we can definitely hear you.
I had to leave the call. My audio like just died for no reason like it did before. So anyway, well, this was my first time seeing Masks, and I missed almost everything that Katie and Dane said because of the audio issue. But so this was my first time seeing Masks, and I definitely saw the similarities to Suspiria. I agree that it was like less stylistic and was more focused on having a story. I made the note that with the Dance Academy and Suspiria, it didn't seem like it necessarily needed to be a dance academy. Like you didn't see a whole lot of what she was actually there for, and so it was better to have that fleshed out. So like this is an acting school, we're going to see them learn about acting, and then that's actually part of the plot, like a big part. Well, that was the plot. So it was very different from Suspiria in that sense.
Okay. Celeste, what did you think of the film?
Well, I just watched it today, and it felt like a Suspiria remake or ripoff, so I didn't like it as much as I could have. Was it not so similar? But I did like that it was in German, because that allowed me to watch it pretty much without the subtitles, which I think gives you a better sense of what's really going on in foreign films. So I liked that aspect of it. And I did like the acting school, and it had an interesting concept. I didn't dislike it, but I wouldn't say I loved it.
Well, it would have been a lot better had you not seen Suspiria, had Suspiria not existed. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it too. Except I would say I think that narratively it was on much more solid footing. It just didn't have quite the style, or the fact that it didn't come first. So it's always going to be compared to Suspiria.
Right.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But I would consider this. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I thought it was more of. I think the motivation behind it may have been almost like an homage to Suspiria. I'd like to do some reading about that and see if that was an intentional theme.
In fact, it was kind of intentional. He had actually made it as an homage to like the 70s Gaiolo period, which is what when he went. The film actually ended up going to like 31 film festivals around the world.
Wow.
So that's kind of a lot for a director, but then again, he had probably years of pull in the music business to kind of pull that off. So, but I think that 31 festivals is a lot. To especially knowing how much festivals are these days to get in.
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't you agree, Emir?
No, definitely. I mean, it depends. Like the ones that are like around like Western New York here, it's like $50-$60, but it's like you enter like 4 or 5, like you're like $350 out. So, yeah.
The film was a winner of the Milius de Argent of the European Fantastic Festival Federation.
I didn't know that.
So it pretty much was one of the top, films of 2012, and by readers of the Deadline print magazine too. So and. Eventually, he went on in 2014 to work with George Butchgreg, who did Necromantic on an anthology in 2014. So I think his film career isn't done. So, but
once you go to Necromantic, where can you go from there, really?
Serbian film?
From the cradle to the grave, quite literally.
So, would people agree that the music had something to do with pulling the film or being part of the film?
The music was awesome. Like it was almost parallel to the way they use music in Suspiria, and it was like they tried to mimic Goblin style to some extent. Like it felt very appropriate and added a lot.
It didn't even stand out to me, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it just didn't.
I kind of felt like it was the difference between John Carpenter's original Halloween score and Tyler Bates's more soundscapey Halloween score for Rob Zombie's remake. Like it was fine for what the film was, but then as soon as you hear what was in Suspiria, you're like, yeah, this is 10 million times better.
I agree with that.
Well,
I like the music, but I definitely like Goblin's score for Suspiria a lot better. But I thought this was a good attempt at it. Like it stood out to me enough that it was worth mentioning. But yeah, if put side by side with even just this theme for Suspiria, yeah, Suspiria blows it out of the water and Goblin blows it out of the water. But I definitely noticed the music at least, which I think it's noteworthy.
Well, the composer's name, just so that you know, Katie, was Sebastian Leverman. So, and if you wanted a copy of the music, I actually can send it to you after the show.
Sure, that'd be awesome.
I'll actually like that if you want to. That'd be great.
Oh, definitely.
Now, I think one thing that we should probably remember too is that when we make the comparison between this movie and Suspiria, we're comparing like this thing that came out like just a few years ago to one of like the best horror movies like ever written, or at the very least like one of the most acclaimed horror movies ever written. So, of course, it's not going to be as good, but it can be good.
It wouldn't prompt that comparison if it didn't match up so many times. That's sort of the point I would throw in there is like if it just didn't hit like point for point, then it wouldn't invite so much comparison.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
See, that's why I like talking about films, because everyone has their different views and different viewpoints, and not everyone's going to like the film for what it is. See, I took it as an homage.
Yeah, and I did too.
Other people took it as a straight rip-off almost. So it's like two sides to a coin. Either you're going to like it or dislike it. So
yeah, I liked it fine for what it was. I just
yeah, agreed.
Well, again, it's like this. It will inevitably be compared to Suspiria just because it matches it so closely. And first, it's like, well, what do you do? But but I will say that I think that this did a lot of things better than Suspiria did. I'm not really sure which one I would necessarily say is better. I mean, probably the title would automatically go to Suspiria just because it's got time on its side. But I think on a narrative level, this one is stronger.
I think Suspiria is very easily better than this movie.
Agreed.
Like I can't even quite entertain the notion that Suspiria wouldn't be the better movie.
I think that Suspiria is definitely the better film, but I guess in my mind when I first saw this film, I saw a lot of beauty in it, and I saw a lot of beauty in the storytelling. And though I like the originality and the colors schemes in Suspiria, I almost like this as much as I like Suspiria. So I guess I'm kind of in the middle.
There was some really good stuff in Masks. Like a lot of the shots were pretty awesome. And even though I really disliked the ending, but the way they shot the ending was really impressive.
Which I actually liked the ending fine. I thought that that's one little issue I would take with the ending of Suspiria is like I like the fact that the house crumbles and everything, but the very last shot I didn't like because I forget the lead actress's name, but she was looked way too happy and smiley relative to everything that just happened. And I did like that this had a kind of, it actually kind of reminded me of Black Swan a little bit, as far as like the euphoric ecstasy of the great performance amidst the fact that your life's ending.
I thought of that too.
It's Mir was going after with a Serbian film. It's like you reach the apex of the suffering, and then there comes the the great performance, the great point of enlightenment to create the great art. And so,
in this film, it was the emotion, the more emotions that you feel, the more life that is within you at the moment of death is the greatest
vitality. I think they use the word vitality.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that I don't know why, but he made a reference to the Bolshevik, the
experiments,
Bolshevik experiments. I liked that connection. So
and this is kind of unfair, but I like the fact that the way in which the backstory exposition of this school, the way that exposition is handled is a lot less kind of random and ham-fisted like it is in Suspiria, where you have just this one guy who's able to fill us in conveniently. Okay, great. And again, and that was the 70s, so they didn't have the internet, but they had the internet here, and so she was able to do more of her own research. And I also like the creepy documentary she stumbles upon. That could have been its own movie, and actually, arguably, that could have been an even more interesting take on this central premise.
Who knows whether he could make a prequel to the story using like elements from that documentary in the future. You never know. So, but
yeah, like the movie within a movie and Evil Ed, like that thing that they have.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, wrapping up.
Well,
go ahead.
I just wanted to parting thought. Like for me, the reason I didn't like the ending was because it's exactly what I thought was going to happen. After a couple of really good twists that I didn't see coming, it was like, okay, how are they going to surprise me? Oh, damn it!
Yeah. Well, and it also doesn't help that Black Swan came out relatively soon, but it came out only a few years before this film did, and so it basically did that exact thing. Which, to be fair, this one didn't like telegraph it with bright neon lights the way that Black Swan did. Where Black Swan, it was just like waiting for the inevitable, but here it was not telegraphed to you, thankfully.
Well,
what I've come. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just saying I thought it was telegraphed pretty clearly to me. Go on.
What I kind of get myself to do is, I mean, it's 2017, I guess. Like we can all say like we watched like hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands, of films, and it's just so hard to actually come up with a 100% genuine and original concept, ending, beginning, like whatever you want. So I guess like I just unplug myself, and even if I like can like foresee what's going to happen, I mean I just take the film as a whole. Again, that's just me.
Well, it's
I'm the same way, actually.
It's definitely good.
Well,
Yeah.
it's impossible. Well, nothing new exists under the sun. There's always like just however many types of stories that there are. What is it, like a max of 10 types of stories that exist? So there are no new stories out there. There's just new ways of telling them.
Rick.
Yeah, I mean, but like I can't really think of something where I was like, yeah, this is a completely 100% new way of telling a story, because really everything stems from something, which is perfectly fine. That's how art works. It's not things original. It's what you can do with that which already exists to make it fresh.
Innovation.
Yeah, exactly. But the only thing I'd throw in there with this is that just this film just hit every major story point of Suspiria at the same times. Because I was checking the time code, which is this is for all those listening. This is actually a really good screenwriting technique. Is as you're watching movies, look at the time code relative to when certain plot points happen, when an act break happens. You know, just that way you can kind of gauge for your own sense of storytelling awareness when things take place, as well as the screenwriter's mastery of the medium, etc. But I just noticed that they hit all the major plot points at virtually the same times as Suspiria, which is sort of what makes it harder to separate oneself
Now
from
I'm gonna have
the film that it
Georgia
is
side
paying
by side.
homage to.
I picked up on that too, actually. You articulated it better than I could have imagined, but I actually picked up on that.
Well,
Well, since you were mindful of time, did you feel like it maybe should have ended like 20, 30 minutes earlier? Like, because some parts seem to really drag on.
Yeah, it dragged to me too.
Yeah, some scenes could have been
dragged, but I think that's actually part of the nature of the Galore film. You know, every single Galore film that I have ever watched has at least had a spots of time where it's like, okay.
Well, that's European cinema for you.
When's the next part that's going to wake me up?
that's
I
European,
did fall asleep
European
watching this movie.
They tend to be more okay with meandering than we are, and that is one big thing in Suspiria's advantage was it had atmosphere.
Oh wait, here, let's give this kid a camera, or let's go for a stroll in the park.
This film didn't have quite the atmosphere that Suspiria did, which that film really was more about the atmosphere than it was about plots making 100% sense. And this one was significantly more grounded, but with that you noticed a bit more of the tedium than you did with Suspiria, where you're just kind of getting enmeshed. Yeah, well, you're just in a Suspiria, you're just getting enmeshed in the world and in the feeling. And here you were more. This one adheres more to conventional Western storytelling of going from A to Z in a kind of orderly fashion.
Okay.
So now that we've discussed, did anyone else have anything more to say before I wrap this up?
I didn't notice anybody touching on the girl-on-girl love connection stuff going on in this film, which I actually thought was really well done. I think sometimes it can be forced, but this seemed really perfect for the story.
It kind of came out of left field.
I didn't think so. I think it actually it served the movie well because it was all about emotions and it implied a deeper that was being sought after from two people. Because there was some kind of some kind of a connection between the
main character Stella and the matronly headmistress, like when she was giving her the drug. While she was lying down, you could see that she, even though it was more of a motherly thing, it was somewhat of an erotic connection too, because she had actually like somewhat glided her hand over her leg.
Well, that and also if you look at the connection that's formed between Celeste and
Cecile.
Cecile, sorry, that's her name.
Without telling us.
And Stella. The connection that's formed there, it's out of admiration for one's abilities, and then it's just sort of this thing that develops that then gets kind of blown out of proportion by the classmates, which I have to say the classmates in here had a lot more personality because they were such dicks. Yeah, they were, but I was like, okay, you actually stand out, you know. But
Well, they actually had stuff to do.
It's a connection that's formed from admiration of one's abilities, which that happens a lot in life, where one admires what one does, what another person does, and then deeper feelings arise. The only little thing I would say is perhaps it could have been set up more that because she was feeling pretty happy with her boyfriend prior to coming to the school, but
Yes, she was.
then again, you know, previously unfelt feelings can arise at any time. It just kind of depends on what the trigger point is. But
Did
I do
anyone
think
else
it was handled a lot more tenderly and a lot more effectively than it was in Black Swan, where there it's more of the temptation, and it's all point of psychological tension than it is about forming a meaningful connection with another human being.
I've never seen Black Swan.
You should.
You should.
Well, we can definitely talk about that in the
The
future.
whole thing's spoiled at this point, so.
The next film we discuss.
That's if anyone wants to watch Black Swan.
Hey, I'm down for anything, man. I watch The Room once a month.
Are you interested in being on more episodes, Emir?
Sure, man. Absolutely.
Hooray! We should do the Beyond. I need an excuse
Has
to watch
anybody
my
seen The Room? You guys know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Tommy
Why-
Wiseau. Tommy Wiseau.
Dane had
Just
mentioned
hang me up
The
high.
genius that Tommy Wiseau is, yes.
Yes,
I've suffered through that.
he is a gift to this world, and we are all better off because of the masterpiece that he bestowed upon
I
us.
feel a lot better about myself.
I think you've mistaken the word gift for the word blight.
See, The Room is one that I have not watched yet. So
Oh my god.
I know.
You must
find a copy
this.
of it. But first, I gotta buy Emir's films first. So let me.
Thanks,
If you
Dan.
need The Room,
You need to buy some.
where it's terrible.
You need to buy some WD-40 for that chair too.
I actually kind of like the
Hey.
creaking. It makes it kind of
Hey,
haunting.
David.
Yeah.
I have to bow out because the work calls in about 4.5 hours. So
Sorry about that. But
no, dude. You guys continue your party. I just didn't want to leave and be like, yo.
That's why I was trying to wrap up the show. So
No, it's all
Well,
good, man.
it was awesome meeting you, and can't wait to
Absolutely,
talk
my
to you.
pleasure. Thanks a lot for
actually,
having
before you go, I was going to have Celeste tell you a little bit about what Dedgar her.
Oh, please do.
Because Celeste, since you're going in, journeying into the independent field, why don't you tell?
Yes,
a little bit
I'm not sure if your films will be a good fit because they have to be family friendly.
Ooh.
Which sounds like it
The
might
Confessions of
not
a
be.
Homicidal Prostitute does not sound friendly to you?
I'm just a little hesitant given the subject
Where's my
matter.
beaver rape scene?
We are horror
You know what you
hosts.
could do? You could pull a Freddy Got Fingered and do the 2-minute PG version.
Right.
Well, we have to have some class.
Yeah. So we're
Right.
horror hosts. We're on local cable. We're also picked up around the country. We're online.
That's
We're
cool.
working on some other stuff, but we right now are family friendly. So we like to show independent movies whenever we can. If you ever come across any that you think might be a good fit for us, we specialize in horror. We're sort of like the Svengoolie, Elvira type hosts.
Gotcha.
So, and that's what why I wanted to get you on the show, so that in the future, if there was something that was family friendly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I definitely have. The film actually that I got news about today, I got accepted as an official selection into a film festival here in Western New York. It's called Rules. It's a very short 6.5-minute film that deals with the gender stereotypes and women walking home and staying safe.
Oh, interesting.
The film ends in a kill, but there's very little blood, if any, and there's no strong language at all. It's like
Okay.
it's black and white, and it's mainly like it's a message film. So yeah.
All right, I'd love to see it.
Sure.
You'll be able to find her on my friends list. Or the name that she goes by is Celeste Parker.
Okay.
Yeah, add me.
I can definitely. It's on my YouTube, and I can definitely send you the link to check it out. Again, it's 6.5 minutes, so.
Alrighty. Now, I'll let you get going, and you can definitely tell other independent artists about Dedgar and what they do as well. So
definitely.
If they want to contact Celeste or whatnot, you can
Get in touch with me.
No, I definitely have many people who would benefit from that because they do generally more family-oriented stuff than I do. So I would definitely love to put you in touch with a few.
Yeah, thank you. Just have them contact me. I would love to talk to anybody.
No, absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, sorry to keep you hostage.
No,
for
not
those
at all. I had a
minutes.
blast. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
We had him in a cocoon, and we were refining his craft.
I was curious about like how you do your writing, but that's going to be a long conversation. We'll save that.
It's not a long conversation. I have a 6-pack on my desk, and that's pretty much how it goes until I sober up.
Really?
I'm just kidding. No, I'm a little more involved than that, but I mean that's how I start.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for being on the show, and it was great to have you. And thanks for being part of our discussion.
I had
you originally told us you had had a little bit of time, but I'm glad you stayed for the whole thing.
Me too. I enjoyed meeting everybody. Hit me up on Facebook. I'm an open book guy, so
definitely. All right, man. Have a good night.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
So now we can have our after discussion, if you guys like.
Are we still on?
Yeah, we're still on.
It's like that joke from the stupid Godzilla fighting game. You will report to the nearest outpost. That is all.
Just forget that.
What? I'm still on? Now return you to whatever it was you were doing.
You guys, what did you guys think of Emir?
He was pretty awesome.
Wait, are we supposed to say this live on when we're live?
You're more than welcome to. You're more than welcome to. This is our show. So.
No, he was great, actually. I'm just joking around.
You'll just be for all your opinions.
All right, fine. Tell the truth. Speak it.
Well, I thought he smelled bad. I could smell him. I could smell him through the microphone.
It seems
like somebody leaves. Does everyone just gossip about him?
Sure.
Sure. We can do that.
I'm crazed enough to, listen in on what you say about me afterward. It'll be a learning experience. Oh,
well,
wait, we're still live. Yeah.
You do get a little bit long-winded, friend, but I think we'll keep you around for now. If not, we'll just send Dane for another viewing of Salo.
Yeah. So if I were to do it like again right now, it'd probably be fairly easy, just because I just saw it again, so I probably would be all right. But
know what's coming.
It's good to know that that family friendly is what you can allow, so that
currently that's
other horror directors that I may or may not have
like
on the show.
Made for children. It just can't have a little bit of mild swearing is sometimes okay, but we have to watch the nudity and the language. Violence is fine.
I do not think
alligator.
I do not think that a lot of nudity is shown in, I think, his zombie films.
Okay, I was going to say the one with the, cheese grater sounds like it would be a little bit inappropriate.
And Confessions of a Homicidal, that one would definitely not be part of the family friendly. But I actually think I'll have to rewatch the Plague and Plague 2 and get back to you on that. See if I notice any swears or whatnot. But I don't think
we can usually cut those out if it's brief things, if it's not a big deal. But
basically, it's broadcast TV appropriateness.
Correct.
Like whatever you could play on broadcast TV. So doesn't necessarily have to appeal to children or families.
How about Invaders from Mars?
Well, I have a bunch of his films. I can send them to you, and if you want to view them and whatnot, and if you decide that they're okay, I'm sure you can ask him for permission down the road or whatnot. So
I kind of got to take off as well in a sec here.
Alrighty, let's figure out the next. Will Black Swan be the next film?
Sounds good to me.
Sure.
I still vote for. I
figure we'll play each film. We'll play each film by ear, and if it's agreeable to the rest of you guys, then we'll play it. I mean, eventually, I do want to get to Wisconsin films, but
Billy Club.
You want Billy Club?
Not really, but I'll do it.
Have you seen Stump the Band? I'd love to do that one.
Stump the Band.
The hell is that?
It was made in I think Illinois, so Antioch, Illinois, so close to Wisconsin.
Antioch.
Man.
It's a good movie.
Haven't seen it.
I just finished with.
Is it out anywhere?
They used to be sold on Amazon. At least I don't know if it still is, but it used to be.
Okay.
Let me look for it. I'll send you the link if I find it.
Awesome.
We could
like
do crimes.
To film in my collection if we can.
Oh, here it is. I got it. I'm gonna send it to you.
Awesome.
It was good though.
Alrighty, then Black Swan it is. Anyways, before we get off, why don't we tell a little bit about each other, even though we did we kind of did that in the beginning. Figure out. Dane.
Yes. So once again, I am Dane Kyle, writer director based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. You can connect with me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you can find me. On YouTube, my channel is The Dane Kyle, Keil, and you can find my black and white German expressionist silent film, Aeternus, highly praised by Lloyd Kaufman, Charles Kyoto, Peyton Reed, and a whole bunch of others. And please look forward to my upcoming black and white film noir homage, The Big Blind, coming out this year.
Okay. Celeste, why don't you tell us about a little bit about what you do? And,
I'm Celeste from Dedger's Dark Coffin Classics. It's a 2-hour horror host TV show. So we show movies, we talk about them, we do interviews, we have skits. We generally have a lot of fun. If you want to check out the show, you can find us, if you're not in Wisconsin, on Vimeo at vimeo.com/DDCC. Or if you look up Dedger's Dark Coffin Classics, you'll find us at our website. We're also on YouTube, although that doesn't get updated since YouTube decided to be jerks about what can be shown, even though it's public domain.
Yeah.
And if you are in Wisconsin, Kenosha, Milwaukee, Racine, Jefferson County, we're on Car 25 in Racine or Channel 14 in Kenosha, Milwaukee. And I am also the host of the Glamour Junkies Burlesque Troupe out of Milwaukee. So follow me on Facebook and you'll find out about all the events we do for the burlesque show and as Dedger's Dark Coffin Classics.
Okay. And Katie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
I'm Katie Cadaver. I'm a body positive artist, makeup artist, horror artist, burlesque dancer, pinup model, little jack of all trades. You can find me on Facebook under Katie Cadaver. That's Cadaver with a K. I've got also my artist page, which is Third Eye Open, 3RDEYE0PN. You can find that on Facebook and on Instagram, and I share all my latest artwork on there. And then lots of pictures and stuff on my Katie Cadaver page, my modeling stuff, and whatever I'm getting into lately is either there on my Facebook profile. So you can find me mostly on Facebook, and I'll get you hooked up with everything else, including Rap at Spider, Deadger's Dark Coffin Classics, Deadger's Dead Girls, and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I live here in Milwaukee. I go to UWM. I study biology and GIS. I lurk around the city for horror movies. And I don't necessarily have anything to plug right now. eBay store coming soon. So I basically live in a warehouse at this point. I have way too many movies. Get them away from me.
And my name is David Streggy. I run Movies Galore of Milwaukee. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. I'm also a somewhat producer of film, small time. And I enjoy talking about films. So I gathered you all together to get horny with me on movies. So thank you all for being patient with the invites and whatnot, and hopefully we can have many more discussions.
And when our powers combine, we are Inside Movies Galore.
That works.
And on September 8th and 9th, there is the Milwaukee Short Film Festival in its 19th year. To get tickets for it is at MilwaukeeIndependentFilmSociety.org. It will be held at the Fox Base Cinema on 334 East Silver Spring Drive in Milwaukee. And get your tickets now because they fill up quick. Also, same weekend, the Milwaukee Women's Film Festival will be held on the 8th, 9th, and 10th. It will be held in the Underground Collaborative, which is in the basement of the mall mall downtown. So definitely catch that weekend. And I'm going to give a plug to a favorite Elvis performer that will be at. Yeah, there's an Elvis performer that shows up at Hardee's here in Milwaukee. That
we have a Hardee's?
Runs strict. Yeah, we have a Hardee's over on the south side, and he runs the Strictly Elvis show. He'll be at 2450 East Layton Avenue, August 24th, 4th through 8th. They actually have a car show that goes on there. For definitely look out for that. And he'll be at the Lutheran Home in Wauwatosa on 7500 West North Avenue, August 10th, 1:30 to 2:30, and he'll be at Meadowmere and Mitchell Manor of Oak Creek at 701 East Putes Road, August 18th, 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So, I promised I'd give him a plug on. Yep. I promised I'd give him a plug on my show one of these times. So.
Meeting our goals, hooray!
In any case, thank you all for joining me. We'll tune in next time, same channel. Stay tuned for Black Swan.
Holy reference, Batman.
I was thinking we were going to get away with the...
To the Batcave! All right, guys. Have a good evening.
Right.